Hey everyone, it's Caroline, and today I want to take a little bit of a slower, maybe a little bit windier, freeform trip through the topic of the day, which is how to really lean on our intuition in decision making, especially big decisions about our career path and what the right next steps are that are most aligned with what we want. And I'm talking today about intuition as a tool. Certainly, there are times for logic based thinking. And at the same time, I think too often we fall into logic based decisioning because we've been taught that that's the best way. So I've been wanting to talk about this topic for a while anyway. And I've been trying to make a big decision for myself in my business. And I have just noticed my own self ping-ponging between fear-based decision-making, logic-based decision-making, and intuitive decision-making. And so I just want to share with you what my process has been, not because intuition necessarily will show up the same way for you, but just give you some examples and maybe an entry point to be thinking about how some of these themes show up in your own decision-making. So probably, I don't know, 5 or 6, the years run together, but 5 or 6 years ago, I was still in corporate and I noticed about my hiring decisions that I would make very poor hiring decisions, number one. And number two, I realized that I would have an intuition about whether I should hire a person or not. After having that intuitive hit, I would look at the data or replay a conversation and kind of pull out elements, see, can I find data to support this gut feeling? And then I would override my intuition. And many times it was wrong, meaning the logic-based decision was wrong and my intuitive hit was right. And so this stuck out to me. I was like, what is going on here that, it's not like I'm not in touch with my intuition. I'm getting these intuitive hits and yet I'm not listening to them and it's leading to poor decision making on my part. And so that was really when I started developing an interest in, how do I actually start listening to this a little bit more? And then it was certainly magnified when I was selling my apartment to leave out of New York and it fell through. I can't remember now. It's like a dark place for me, but 4 or 5 times. Anyway, it fell through a bunch of times in spectacular fashion. It was just a horrible, horrible time, and yet a learning experience for my intuition. So the first time it fell through, I was like, I'm just getting the heck out of New York. I basically escaped to my mom's house. I've just found working in her garden like so meditative and peaceful and grounding. So I talked to my real estate agent like 18 times a day. Like it was not a healthy dynamic. I think I was out there after replaying one of these conversations and really just questioning, like, should I be leaving New York? Should I be selling this place? Should I be renting it out? Like, what is the universe trying to tell me? And just kind of obsessing over minute by minute what was happening or not happening. Anyway, so I was in the garden and I was weeding. And all of a sudden this big booming voice said,
"Leave now."
It's like, is that my neighbor telling me to get out of the yard? Like, what is this? It was certainly the most dramatic experience I've had with my intuition. But anyway, so most of the way my intuition shows up is it shows up a lot in the shower, not baths, for whatever reason. Or usually, as it happens, like in various states of undress, running back and forth between my bathroom and my laptop in my towel. So that's me. It's probably more information that you wanted to know. Yours might show up differently. The lesson here is to listen to how your intuition shows up and just start training yourself to recognize it and honor it. You don't have to necessarily do what it says yet, but I think just acknowledging as you would a piece of data. Oh, that's interesting, big booming voice in my mom's garden. Why are you appearing right now? And what are you telling me to do? Which, by the way, ended up to be totally the right answer for me. So let's talk about how to distinguish between a fear voice, a logic-based voice, and an intuitive voice. As one of my clients said not too long ago, I think I was asking her, what does your intuition say? 'Cause she's like super intuitive. What does your gut say here? And she said, there are 8 voices in my head right now. How do I know which one is the intuitive voice? Like, it's not for lack of hearing voices. I hear all the voices. And I thought that was such like a beautiful and accurate depiction, because I think for so many of us, especially those of us who are mostly driven by logic and reason, we do internalize voices. So maybe it's voices from our parents. Maybe it's a really good friend's voice that we hear a lot. Maybe it's that gremlin voice, which is still our voice, but it's a voice born out of fear with the desire to protect us, right? Something bad happened in the past. And so the part of ourselves that never wants that to happen again, but it's coming from a place of seeing danger in everything. So let's kind of talk about how to distinguish between these. One of the best things I learned, actually, or read about fear versus intuition, is that fear is repetitive. It's a worry. I don't want to fall. 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 I don't want to fail. I don't want to fail. What if I fail? What if my friend's going to think? It's just this interminable, on repeat voice or set of voices that are just doom and gloom. Whereas intuition, much like that voice that I heard, or the hiring decision, was boom. It was there. It was sudden. It was firm. And it was once. It's a knowing. It's a knowing. It's like, this is the right move. So let me take you through some of the observations that have helped me in the midst of this decision just get clearer on listening to that intuitive part of the equation. I'm still using logic, trying to steer clear of the fear-based narrative, but I think right now I have all the data that I need, and it's really just listening to that deep down intuitive, what is best for me at this time sort of voice. So one of the things that's been super helpful is separating the importance of the decision and the rightness of the decision from any sort of urgency or scarcity techniques. Unfortunately, this is like a big sales thing. People that are trying to sell you stuff will say, if you buy in the next 24 hours, it's this price. And after that point, it goes up significantly. You see this in the hiring process, right? The hiring process takes like weeks and sometimes months, if you worked where I used to work.
Months?
To go through, and then you give someone like 24 hours to make a decision. I'm just not about that. So the more you can not necessarily slow the process down unnecessarily, it's not about procrastination, but it is about not letting the fear, because urgency and scarcity is about fear. It plays into your worst fears about this thing is going to go away. If I don't have this, there's no other solution. It raises the stakes around the decision. So I think whatever you're trying to navigate, whatever decision you're trying to make, it's really important to slow things down and recognize that what's really forcing you into a decision, is it actually coming from a value-driven, this is the right decision place, or is it, I got to make a decision in the next 24 hours because something terrible is going to happen. So that's number one. Beware of scarcity and urgency and kind of those fear-based decisions. The second thing is, I found that I was trying to evaluate my decision about whether to go with this company or not on, okay, here are these 3 things over here that I really like. I like this thing she said. I like the way they responded to this. Oh, but they have typos in their proposal, which typos, really? And so I was really just kind of like trying to weigh logical data points. And it was in talking to a friend, actually, that I got an intuitive hit that was like, oh, the problem here is you don't trust them. And so it kind of took me out of this like 5 things over here and 5 things over there, which is why I do not like pro-con list, because we can create false equivalencies, and they're a very logical approach to what was going on was far bigger than are typos a big deal. If you're making a decision, try to stay away from the pro-con and get at the heart. What's making you hesitate here? What's not feeling good? All right, so the third and final thing that I observed in this situation, they were laying out the various strategies or paths forward that we could take together. And so when I ran them through the logical part of my brain, I was like, check, check, check. we're going to build this strategy, we're going to do this activity, we're going to do this thing. And so through that lens, everything made sense. And at the same time, it still didn't feel right. And now you've heard me say a few times now, I've been talking about feelings, whether it's in your gut, sometimes it's my gut, sometimes it's actually up here for me. I don't understand. But I know where it happens. I know where intuition kind of appears on my body and how it feels. And I was still having this tension between logically, this is where I want to go. You're saying you can take me there. I want to believe you. And at the same time, it really, really didn't feel good. And as I was talking through with a friend, I realized that they had introduced their team in the very beginning. And there was one person who, again, there's nothing I can point to in what she said that I could take issue with. But it was a feeling and kind of the energy she brought to that I thought, oh, well, this person is kind of like a taskmaster and someone that's going to be really driving, which is like not like, don't tell me, even if you're telling me what to do, don't tell me what to do. And so what I realized was it wasn't logically and tactically, are they going to put me on the path? It was like, how's this journey going to feel? And I'm not sure that I'm going to enjoy these interactions because this is not the vibe or the how we would achieve that. And I think the key here for me was rather than search for logical arguments or trying to pinpoint why I don't trust them or why I don't want to work with the particular person, I just need to trust that it's the right answer for me right now and not worry about whether it's objectively right or wrong, and trust that for right now, it's the right decision. So that is my experience. I would love to hear your thoughts. What do you struggle with intuition? Is it hearing it and getting in touch with it? Is it like me listening to it and not overriding it? What techniques have you developed? I am actively working on my own intuition, so I always love to hear what other people are doing that works. So talk to you soon, and I hope this was helpful. Take care. Bye.